Hi again, Mark here from Talking Bass. Today I'm going to be breaking down a tune that needs no introduction. I've been asked time and time again to cover this bass line, so here it is, Deantown by Vulfpeck, played by the awesome Joe Dart. As always, the lesson material can be found over at Talking Bass, so just click on the link in the info below to play along. As well as the tab, there are several drum tracks to play. It's a variety of tempos, so after getting it under your fingers, you can start to slowly ramp up the speed slowly. Also, be sure to leave a comment below and let me know what other Vulfpeck tunes you'd like me to break down. Joe Dart is an amazing bass player, and there's a whole bunch of great bass lines in the Vulfpeck catalogue, so just leave a comment and let me know. So Deantown has roughly two sections that repeat. There's the 16th note pedal bass line that works through the main progression, and then the infamous bass line and unison section that again works through that same progression. I'll be focusing mainly on the more intricate melody line, but just as a quick overview of the pedal, we begin with 8 bars on a low F sharp down here at the 2nd fret of the E string. So 8 bars of that, just straight 16th notes. So we have 1 E ender, 2 E ender, 3 E ender, 4 E ender for 8 bars. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Etc. Next, we jump up an octave to the F sharp at the 4th fret of the D string, and we switch to the main chord progression, which is F sharp minor 7, C sharp minor 7, E7 and B7, and we just play 16th notes on the root note of each chord. So F sharp, 4th fret of the D string, C sharp at the 4th fret of the A string, E, 2nd fret of the D string, and B at the 2nd fret of the A string. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That progression is played twice before jumping into the main melody line, but it comes back into play later in the tune with some little variations. So just have a listen for yourself and try to pick out some of those little approach notes used in the later section. The drum beat that I've sequenced for this lesson just plays round and round on that main beat with no fills or variations, so you can just play around with it as you like. So with the beat, the opening would sound like this. So first of all, I'll just play the F sharp for 8 bars. One, 2, 3, 4, and up. And again. Now, some of you may find those 16th notes pretty tricky at the higher tempo, so start out slow and build up your speed and stamina. But one tip that I can give you is simply to relax the picking hand. Tension will always be the enemy of your stamina. Play lighter, turn up the volume a little to compensate, and keep the hand, wrist and arm more relaxed. When you're just starting out and trying lines like this, it's easy to tense up because it can all seem so hard. But this is why you start out slow. Just keep relaxed at every progressive step. So, for instance, on the F sharp, instead of just going in at 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E under, just start out slow. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just try it at that tempo, then move up. You know, I'm keeping the hand really relaxed there. There's no tension at all. So I've got no tension in the forearm here. There's no tension in the fingers. Just keep it relaxed. and you'll probably have to play lighter, like I say, but remember, you can turn up the volume slightly to compensate. Okay, so that's the intro. Now let's look at the main melody, which sounds like this. Deantown is quite modal in its writing, and it's based around an F-sharp Dorian tonality, so it's all an F-sharp Dorian scale. From a basic aural perspective, F-sharp is definitely the point of resolution, you know, the main tonic, and I've written it with a key of A major, which is 3 sharps, simply because when we have a tune in a minor type of key, it's usually written with the relative minor key signature. So we're effectively in the key of F-sharp minor, but the minor is more Dorian in flavour. So this is a very common way of writing modal music. So the first thing many of you will think of in approaching this line, and the main hurdle that you'll find, is the sheer length of the line. It's all through composed and seems more like an improvised bass solo than a typical bass riff. So the key to learning it is approaching it in smaller chunks. So the first chunk sounds like this. And this is all taking place over an F-sharp minor 7. Now the first part, this line, you might be thinking to yourself, that's not how it's played. I've seen lots of transcriptions online and they all say, you know, they've all got this open A in there. But if you watch what Joe does live, you can see that he's actually playing around this area more. And I think one of the main reasons for this is because there's a lot more control when you play it this way. Now on the repeat, we actually play it there because we're further up the neck. So, you know, there's many different ways of playing this, but for this, because we're in this B area at the end of the pedal, you know, we're in position there and we don't have to worry about open strings, you know, and the control of them. So what we have here is we have the D sharp there, first fret of the D string, coming down to the C sharp at the 4th fret of the A string, then E, D sharp, C sharp, A, F sharp. So then 2nd fret D string, 6th fret on the A string, 4th fret on the A string, 5th fret on the E string, and then the 2nd fret on the E string. And you can see all this in the tab and sheet music that I've got on screen. Okay, so that's your first hurdle, you know, getting that down, because you've got a little bit of a move to play here. You play this part, you know, in this 1st fret to the 4th fret there, and then you've got to move up a little bit, and don't bother stretching it. There's no point in, you know, trying to stretch like this. You can just pivot slightly, use the thumb there to make the jump, and then down. Now when I come down, I've got the 1st finger, then the 4th finger, 1st finger for the C sharp there, and then when we land on the A at the 5th fret of the E string, you have a choice. You could play, you know, play it with maybe the 3rd finger or the 4th finger. I'm actually going to play it with the 2nd finger, and then jump down to the 1st finger there. Okay, so that's the first line. Next we have these 2 little double stops. So we've got the D sharp 1st fret of the D string, and then the A at the 2nd fret of the G string. So I'm just using the 1st and 2nd fingers there for that chord. And then it resolves to the E and the A, 2nd fret on the D string and G string. And if you look at that with the chord, you can see that we've got this nice little move there between the 6th and the flat 7, so it's kind of like a what's that, an F sharp kind of minor 6 up to an F sharp 7. Okay, so then we have C sharp, E, C sharp, and then E and F sharp, and all of these notes are picked. Okay, so the temptation is to actually is to actually hammer it on. But if you actually watch what he's playing and listen carefully, it's all picked, which is what gives it that more staccato kind of, bouncy sound. Okay, so I'm starting with the first finger in terms of picking there. Okay, so that's all the 4th fret and the 2nd fret. Just consult the tab to work through. And then we've got the E back down to the C sharp, 2nd fret D string down to the 4th fret of the A string again. Now for the next bit, we have the E to the F sharp. We've got this little grace note, this little hammer on. So this one is hammered on. So we pick the E and then just very quickly hammer on to the F sharp at the 4th fret of the D string. So, okay, so. And then down to the E at the 2nd fret of the D string. So. Okay, and that's our first chunk. So you just want to work on that first of all, and this is how you'll build up this line. Don't try just learning the whole thing first of all, because you'll just forget it, okay? So if you just work on that bit on its own for a while until you've got it, then you can start adding the next chunk, okay? So. For the next chunk, we have the following. Okay, so again, this is all quite pentatonic, and this is all now taking place of the C sharp minor 7. So we have this descending line, so we've got C sharp up to the E, C sharp, B, A, and then the G sharp there. So this is all taking place in the 4th and 2nd fret areas, apart from the A there on the bottom, which is on the 5th fret of the E string. Okay, so. Okay, so then we come back up, so B, G sharp, B, C sharp, E. Okay, and again, all of it picked. Okay, so I start the line with the first finger of the picking hand. And I'm alternating picking each time. And then I'm on the 2nd finger when I play the ascent. So first finger on the first, on the descent, and then 2nd finger on the ascent. Okay. Next we have F sharp to the E, 4th fret, 2nd fret on the D string. Okay, so again, both picked. And then we have B and C sharp down here, 2nd fret and 4th fret on the A string, and we have, so we play the B, then we have a ghost note, okay, then C sharp, 4th fret of the A string, so, then, so E, C sharp, B, C sharp, 2nd fret D string, 4th fret, 2nd fret A string, and then 4th fret A string. So it's all pentatonic there. So remember we're on the C sharp minor 7 there, it's all working around this C sharp minor pentatonic. So all of that chunk. Now, a lot of this tune is 16th note based. We've got a lot of little 16th note rhythms. So if you follow along with the sheet music, you'll be able to read those rhythms, if you can read. But if not, I would greatly advise you to listen to the tune round and round, getting those rhythms off. I could sit here, working through the rhythms and saying, okay, we've got a 16th note here and a 16th note there. But if you can already read, it doesn't matter. You don't need that. You can just read it off the part. And if you can't read, then that won't make any sense anyway. So then just listen through it, okay? So, once again, that second chunk we have. And once you've got that down, slowly, you can add the first chunk. For the next chunk, we're on an E7, and the line sounds like this. Okay, so we've got this little chromatic run-up or approach into the E there, D, D sharp and E, 5th, 6th and 7th frets on the A string. And for the fingering on this hand, I'm using first finger, second finger, and then switching to the first finger. Okay, so just get that little position shift down. Then we've got the B back to the C, so 9th fret D string, then 7th fret on the A string. Then we have this little move, which is actually a little quote from Teen Town by Weather Report, which obviously the name is derived from the famous line by Jaco Pastorius. So, okay, so here it's all working around this E7. So we've got the C sharp there, 6th fret of the G string, down to the B at the 9th fret of the D string, then up to the D, 7th fret of the G string, back to the C sharp, 6th fret of the G string, down to the B again, and then down to the E at the 7th fret of the A string. Okay. And when you pick this, you could alternate pick it, you know, so as you're coming down, you'll be coming back onto the second finger, but it's probably a lot easier for most of you to actually rake. So once you've got to that C sharp there, and you're coming down through the B and the E, just rake down with the first finger. You can see the finger there. Okay, so the next line sounds like this. Okay, so we've got this little chromatic move up, and there's a couple of ways to play this. I'll just run through the notes first. We've got F sharp at the 4th fret of the D string, back down to the E at the 7th fret of the A string, and then we've got this chromatic run up of G, G sharp, A sharp, and up to the B. So just 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th frets on the D string, and then up to the E at the 9th fret of the G string. So when we play this line, we could play, in terms of the fretting hand, we could play first finger, 4th finger, and then play with the first finger for the G there at the 5th fret of the D string, and then slide up to the well, not slide up, but just make the position shift there to the 6th fret. So we're just moving the first finger, and then just use 1, 2, 3, 4 in terms of the fingers moving up. Sorry. So that's one way to play it, but in watching how Joe Dart plays this, he tends to play it like this. He tends to slide up with the 4th finger from the A sharp to the B there. I've seen some people say that he's actually sliding here, but he's not. If you watch his fingers very carefully on the actual videos, you can see that he's actually picking every note. So much so that when you get up to the E there, you have to pick that with the first finger, which can seem a little odd. So you start on the second finger for the F sharp and back down to with the first finger onto the A string. So that's the line there. Then we have a ghost note, which you can play on either the G string or the D string. Then we play the D, 7th fret of the G string. And then just down chromatically, C sharp and C, 6th fret, 5th fret. So it's 7th fret, 6th fret, 5th fret on the G string. Okay, so let's just play through that whole chunk there. So we had... See how this works? We just take one of these chunks and we work on it in isolation. And you can iron out all the little technical hurdles that you've got in there, you know, in isolation. So, 3, 4. So, now let's put all of those together. So, starting at the beginning, 3, 4. Okay, so it's just those 3 chunks that we've worked on in isolation, and we've just put them all together. For the next chunk, we're on B7, and the chunk sounds like this. Okay, so we begin B, F sharp and B, 4th fret on the G and the D string, and then the 2nd fret on the A string. Now, I know that Joe Dart plays this as first finger for the 4th fret there, and then he quickly jumps down to catch the B, so it's all first finger there. But I like to come down that with the 4th finger, just using a bit of joint barring there, and then the first finger on the A string. I just find it a lot easier that way. That's just how I would normally play it. But if you want to play it with the first finger and then make the jump, it's completely up to you. Doesn't make any difference. So, and then we come up, so C sharp, D sharp, F sharp, so 4th fret, 6th fret A string, 4th fret on the D string. So just that in isolation, you can just work on that. Okay. Again, try to pick every single note in there. Then G sharp, F sharp, so. See, just adding one little part of a phrase on each time. Okay. So next we have C sharp down to the B, 4th fret to the 2nd fret on the A string, and then we position shift up to here. So we have C sharp to the D sharp, 4th fret to 6th fret on the A string. Then 2 notes on the F sharp there, 4th fret of the D string. So then G sharp, F sharp, and D sharp. 6th fret, 4th fret on the D string, and then 6th fret on the A string. And then the F sharp again, 4th fret of the D string. And I'm picking every single note, so. Okay? I do rake down when I come down from the F sharp down to the D sharp at the end there. Okay, so that's the whole chunk, so. That's just another chunk to work on in isolation. So what do we have so far? We've got chunk number 1. Chunk number 2. Chunk number 3. And chunk number 4. So when you approach it in this way, just seeing these smaller chunks that you can work on in isolation, it then doesn't seem as big a task working through this through composed thing, you know, where it just sounds like da 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 da, you know, just this long line. We're actually seeing it as smaller riffs in isolation. So that's the first half taken care of, and now we're back where we started on an F sharp minor 7. And the chunk sounds like this. Okay, so we have E, F, F sharp, 2nd, 3rd, 4th frets on the D string. Then we have A to B on the 2nd and 4th frets of the G string. And we have a little grace note of the A, so we pick the A and instantly hammer on to the B there. So, and then we're back to the A at the 2nd fret of the G string. So, then F sharp, E, F sharp, 4th, 2nd, 4th frets on the D string. Then you have to cut that note off, which is why I use this motion on the beat. So then these 3 little notes, little staccato notes on the F sharp 2nd fret of the E string. Okay, so. Now, the first time Joe plays this, he just plays that A just clean like that. But on the second time round, we have this little trill here. So you can do this in one of 2 ways. You can either play the A with the first finger and then just hammer on and pull off with the 2nd finger. Okay? So this little shake there. Or you can just move the first finger there with that typical, you know, 1 finger shake kind of move. So we have. Okay, so it's a very quick little move. And see, that's when you slide with the first finger. So either way, you know, it's the same result in the end. Next, we're on to the C sharp minor 7 again, and we have a very simple chunk here of. Okay, so we just play B, C, C sharp, so 2nd, 3rd, 4th frets on the A string. We just hold that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we have G sharp, 4th fret of the E string, and then just a hammer on from the B to the C sharp, 2nd fret to the 4th fret on the A string. Again, a little kind of hiccup of a grace note, so, okay, burp. So, 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's just put those two chunks together. 1, 2, 3. 2, 3, 4. The next chunk is on E7 and sounds like this. So this is all based around an E major pentatonic. We start on the C sharp there, C sharp to B, 4th fret to the 2nd fret there on the A string. And then we just come down E, C sharp, B, G sharp, and then down to the E. Okay, so 2nd fret D string, 4th, 2nd frets on the A string, then 4th fret E string, and then down to the open E string. And I'm starting the picking with the 2nd finger there, so that's your first line. For the next part, we have these ascending 16th notes. So we begin on the open E string, 3/16, then F sharp, 2nd fret of the E string, G sharp, 4th fret of the E string, then B, 2nd fret of the A string. Okay, so. And then we have C sharp, E, and then back to the C sharp. So 4th fret on the A string, 2nd fret on the D string, and back to the 4th fret on the A string. Okay, so all of that together. Okay, and when you get up to this B, you're going to be on the 1st finger again. And then when you get to the E there at the 2nd fret of the D string, you'll be hitting it with the 1st finger, which can seem a little bit weird, but if you watch how Joe Dart actually plays this, he is hitting that with the 1st finger there. So it might seem a little strange to be hitting it with the 1st finger of the picking hand rather than the 2nd. Might feel a bit unnatural, but you just have to get used to it. So, because he is picking every note here rather than, you know, instead of playing a hammer on. Okay, and that's the whole of that chunk. The final chunk all takes place on the B7 and sounds like this. Okay, so I'm going to split this into 2 parts. So the first part sounds like this. Okay, so very similar to some of the parts that we looked at before. So we've got B, A, and then back to the B. So 2nd fret of the A string, then down to the 5th fret of the E string and back. And then C sharp to the B, so 4th fret to the 2nd fret on the A string. Then make the position shift. Then C sharp, D sharp, 4th fret, 6th fret A string, and then up to the F sharp at the 4th fret of the D string. So then just G sharp to the F sharp, 6th fret to the 4th fret of the D string. Okay, so that's the first part. For the second part, we have this final line of, and we're back to the beginning. So C sharp to the B again, so 4th fret to the 2nd fret on the A string. Then the position shift again, so we have C sharp, D sharp, 4th fret, 6th fret on the A string. Then we've got the F sharp twice on the 4th fret of the D string. Then we have this little group of 3, G sharp, F sharp, D sharp, so 6th fret, 4th fret, D string, 6th fret on the A string. Okay, so that's a little group of 3 there. And then play that again. Okay, so. And then we have C sharp to D sharp. And we play that D sharp 3 times. So. And then C sharp, D sharp to bring us back to the beginning. So we then play the opening line. So C sharp, D sharp, 4th fret, 6th fret on the A string, and then so E, D sharp, C sharp, 7th fret, 6th fret, 4th fret on the A string. Then A, 5th fret of the E string and back to the F sharp at the 2nd fret of the E string, and that's it, okay? So that final part again. And now we're at the beginning again. Okay, so you can see there that because we're in this position, we're going to be playing that opening line in a different place to how we played it at the start. That's where we played it before because we were down here on the B, but this time we're up here, okay? So we just play it differently each time. So that final part, and I'd advise playing round and round on that part until you get it, because it can be a little bit odd after all of the other lines that you've had, because we didn't have any repetitions of these groups of 3, and it just feels a little different to the other parts. Okay, so that's the whole line. So now let's put all of those chunks together and let's try playing through it slowly. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So once you have the melody down, away from tracks or clicks or anything like that, we can start to introduce more strict time using the tracks over at Talkingbass. So as an example, you could use the slowest track at 78 beats per minute that sounds like this. So I've provided tracks every 10 beats per minute, 78, 88, 98 and 108, and you can just try building up through those. So just, nail it at 78 and then move up to 88 and just work up like that. And you can also try, the pedaling bass lines that we had at the start. So finally, let's try the whole thing at 108 beats per minute. So that's Deantown. Smack that like button, hit the bell, and leave a comment to let me know what other geodart lines you'd like to see on Talkingbass. Also, get on over to the Talkingbass website to access the lesson material, and then check out the lesson map where you'll find hundreds more lessons on every topic imaginable. Okay, I'll see you next week.